Before they handcuffed me, I told them I was 14, and they didn't listen.
Tonight, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans keeps the pressure on Mikmaw treaty fishers.
Part of a holistic worldview, I think, in different cultures across nations, which has been heavily suppressed by our colonizers.
And making their mark, tattoo artists keeping their culture alive. Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. We begin tonight on the East Coast, where Mikmaw lobster harvesters were handcuffed and arrested in southwestern Nova Scotia, and fisheries officers seized boats where the Mikmaw are treaty fishing. Among those arrested, a 14-year-old boy. Angel Moore reports.
They just seized a sea bug because we have our treaty tags on here. And they just seized it, had us all in handcuffs. Had that miner right there, Drazen, in handcuffs.
Drazen Muse, 14 years old, was arrested and handcuffed by fisheries officers with the rest of the crew who were harvesting lobster under the Sabaganagati First Nation treaty fishery.
Before they handcuffed me, I told them I was 14, and they didn't listen until I told them after again. I told them 3 times before they put them on me.
According to the Department of Fisheries, fisheries officers may handcuff individuals as part of arrest procedures, depending on the circumstances at the time of arrest. This includes use between the ages of 12 and 18. Levi Paul Sr., captain and owner of the vessel Seabug, says the officers boarded the boat on the waters and immediately handcuffed everyone.
And here I have with me my nephew Drazen, who is a minor, and he blatantly told them that he was a minor, and they still didn't give a care. They put handcuffs on this young man, terrified him. He was scared to death, this young boy.
The fisheries officers towed Seabug and their crew to Metagan Wharf, where the commercial fishermen boats are based.
We were humiliated because there was a bunch of young guys standing around working on their boats and everything, laughing and joking about it because we were all handcuffed. And so they were taking pictures and recording us and making jokes and whatever.
Paul's boat was seized for alleged violations of the Fisheries Act and doesn't know what he will do next.
And with no boat right here where my Seabug used to be, it's not there anymore. Now how am I going to get out there and check my traps? What am I going to do, swim?
Paul still has traps in the water and will keep fishing, and Drazen will continue to help his uncle.
I'm not going to stop fishing, because it's the one thing we're allowed to do. They're trying to take that away, so I'm going to keep on fishing.
No charges were laid against Paul and his crew, but the Department of Fisheries says the investigation is ongoing. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Saulnieville Wharf.
Nunavut RCMP revealed today that they have charged one of their own members with assault. Corporal Ian Crow was working in Sanirayak, Nunavut, in the summer of 2020 as the detachment commander. He is facing 1 count of assault from his time in the Nunavut community. Crow is scheduled to make his first appearance at the Nunavut Court of Justice on September the 16th. There are renewed calls for a national inquiry into the 60s scoop, supported by Truth and Reconciliation Commission head Murray Sinclair. It is estimated that more than 20,000 First Nations children were adopted over a 30-year period. Catherine LaGrange is the director of the 60s Scoop Legacy of Canada, and she joins me now. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for taking some time to speak with us. Why do you want an inquiry? Who is pushing for it?
So I am the volunteer director of the 60 Scoop Legacy of Canada, and our board has asked for a national inquiry so that we can delve into the really complexities of the 60 Scoop and how it's affected us, our families, and our children. That's really what we're asking for, is to examine the deeper and long-term effects of the 60 Scoop and permanent child removal.
So what should an inquiry include?
So for us, the inquiry should include, of course, interviews and testimonies by survivors, and, including some of the experiences that folks had in care and by being adopted. And then also our children and our grandchildren, testimonials to say how it's affected them, because we know that, that they suffer some of the effects that we did as well. For example, being adopted, lots of our birth records are sealed. And so many of us are still trying to find which community we come from, who our family is. And that affects our children in the long term. Many of our children don't even have basic information, such as medical information or, their birth records. So it's important to look at all of that.
Sorry, now you've been asking the federal government for this. What's the response been like from them?
We've had zero response from the federal government on this, which is really unfortunate. I think that the 60 Scoop survivors, the ones that I've spoken to, feel as though the federal government has really shifted the responsibility of us as 60 Scoop survivors to the provinces, and the provinces are saying that the federal government is responsible for us. So we really feel like we're kind of lost out in nowhere. Nobody's really supporting us.
So, Catherine, why is this a good time to call for an inquiry in light of all of the unmarked graves being uncovered?
I think that it's a really great time to examine that, because we know that many of our families, our parents and our grandparents were subjected to residential schools. I know for myself that many of my family members had gone to day schools. And so I think it's important to look at how all of that is intersectional, because I think when you start digging into this, you'll see that many of us ended up in jails, in prisons, as MMIWGs. Like, it's all interconnected. And so I really think that it's a good time to take a look at all of this and how it's affected us long term.
All right, Catherine, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you again for taking a few minutes to speak with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Murals are adding vibrance and culture to the city of Terrace in northwest BC. A collective of artists known as Raven Tequera are painting their latest mural there now. They hope it sheds light on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
Talked about just doing one wall, and then we got together and said, no, let's paint the whole building, and let's make this building, when people walk by it, they need to say wow, and they need to come in and they need to have a look at it. And that will foster conversations with a variety of people about what it's about, and bring the issue forward.
Dave Gordon is president of the Skeena Salmon Arts Festival Society, a non-profit behind the latest mural going up in Terrace, BC. This one is at the Cromody Friendship Centre. They receive part of their funding from Heritage Canada and BC Arts Council. A collective of artists known as Raven Tequera are painting the building. Amanda Hugon from the Stolo Nation wants the mural to start a conversation about MMIWG.
To be part of this, to bring the awareness, to share that conversation, to bring that up even for the people that might not be aware that it's happening. It's nice to share that and show that through the artwork, to share that story, just to bring the awareness, to make sure that we're all watching out for each other.
Travis Hebert, a Korean Métis artist who grew up in the Northwest, is also part of the collective that has been painting murals around the Northwest.
First joined the collective called Raven Tequera, and that was my first time doing like a big mural back in 2018 in Terrace. So here we're on our 6th mural as a collective, and it's been amazing.
Their work touches on topics that the group wants to highlight in the community.
We also have the LGBTQ2S+. It's representation, it's visibility, and it feels good. It feels like, the times are changing. And
Raven Tequera say they receive positive feedback over the murals they created. The MMIWG mural, painted on the Friendship Centre, will be complete in about 3 weeks. The art is becoming an attraction for tourists. Hugon says it's rewarding when people come and share the impact the art is making on them.
But they're saying like who they are, where they're from, and what it means to them to see this, where a lot of them have been ripped away from their culture, and we feel like they're adopting this as this is what they know, this is what they see, this is what they want to be part of.
Skeena Salmon Arts Festival has been working with the Terrace Downtown Improvement Society. They are completing 5 other murals with other artists by the end of summer. Gordon wants to keep working with artists until every wall is painted.
We need reasons for people to come into our downtown, and murals and art great way to do it. All of this art celebrates our sense of place in the Northwest, our culture. So if you're not from here, you can come here and you can go around town and get a feel for who we are.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Terrace.
All right, we need to step aside for a short break, but still ahead, the third class of Indigenous yoga teachers graduates from the Saskatchewan Indigenous Yoga Association. That story coming up. Welcome back. A young man biking across the country for suicide awareness made it to Winnipeg today, and residents of the First Nation he's riding in support of were there to greet him. APTN's Michelle Karlenzig has more.
Dozens of people cheered as Riley Nepanak pulled in to Winnipeg's Memorial Park today with the youth of Titasqueat Cree Nation along his side. The small community 10 hours north of Winnipeg has seen 4 youth take their lives in the past 2 months and 13 in the past year. Nepanak is biking across Canada to raise money for the suicide crisis.
This ride is to make them feel important. It's to show them that, you know, you're 10 hours away, but you're still a part of our community, no matter what.
He started in Vancouver on August 11th and has been documenting his journey on social media. Titasqueat residents greeted him today with support.
Losing 2 nephews and my son, there's so many that we've lost, and with a heavy heart, you know, we just love and we just hug him. You know, I just want to show our gratitude for Riley for what he's doing.
Nepanak's arrival in Winnipeg was timely as the World Indigenous Suicide Prevention Conference wraps up this week. He says empowerment is the root of his countrywide journey.
You know, having your voice heard is empowering, and it's so important for our youth to feel that. You know, if we're going to be able to create leaders, we have to empower them. That's the foundation of building a strong leader.
On top of a suicide crisis, Titasqueat Cree Nation is also under a boil water advisory. Nepanak says it's yet another reason to raise awareness for his community.
They need their basic rights met. They need clean water. That is a human need, and they need that. It can be linked to mental and physical health. It could be linked to everything that's happening right now, so those needs need to be met. Housing, education, and clean water.
So far, his GoFundMe has reached over $15,000. Nepanak hopes to reach Halifax by the end of September. Michelle Karlenzig, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Things may be a lot more zen in Saskatchewan this week. The third class of yoga teachers graduated from the Saskatchewan Indigenous Yoga Association. The program was created to train more Indigenous instructors so that they can bring yoga into their communities. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has the story.
Inhale, palms up to sky.
Dawn DeGear is from the Muscogee First Nation. She co-founded the Saskatchewan Indigenous Yoga Association with David Edney. DeGear says she was stressed from working hard and needed to find a way to cope with the stress.
It began with a prayer, actually, to the universe for a creator to just get me back to my yoga practice, because I was overwhelmed and I wasn't in a good space. I was working, and I remember that the last time that I had really felt good was when I was really immersed in my yoga practice.
After that, things fell into place. She was contacted by David Edney, a local yogi, who wanted to find a way to recruit Indigenous yoga instructors.
He had proposed that we start a scholarship program, and so I ended up actually applying for that program.
They started teaching yoga 3 years ago, using Indigenous culture as part of the program. Not long after that, they started SIA to train Indigenous yoga instructors. One of the participants this year is Shayna Thomas, who is from the Kinistin Saulteaux Nation. She will incorporate her training into teaching as an educator, but she's also going to use it with Niwa Wellness, an online wellness business.
Yeah, we're mostly an online platform right now, but a lot of our work has been in the digital world to support different classrooms and teaching of the medicine wheel. We run different challenges that kind of focus on fitness but incorporate all aspects of self.
This was the third year the yoga instructor training has been offered by SIA, and the focus this year was yoga for those with accessible needs and yoga for youth. Roberta Dubois, who is from the Pasqua First Nation, says she plans to use her training to launch her own business and work with youth in her community and surrounding communities.
I do plan on bringing yoga to our community, but also to surrounding communities as well. I would love to work with young people, youth at risk.
Dubois says yoga has so many benefits, it's not just for exercise. She suffered the loss of her daughter recently and said yoga helped her through her grief.
During COVID, I did lose my daughter just recently, so at the time it was a moment of trying to find another path.
She says the yoga teachings are teaching her how to heal from her grief and how to help others heal.
I'm so thankful because the program itself has shown a lot of opportunity for internal growth and internal spirituality and developing coping mechanisms, and it's life-changing. It's been probably one of the most life-changing moments I've had.
As you breathe in, stretch your arms to the sky.
Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
All right, we need to step aside for one final break, but still to come. Indigenous tattoo artists gathered together in Tyendinaga to unite and empower one another.
Reclaiming our tattoo culture is a part of that process of rehabilitating from the residential school experience.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Our viewer Kathy Buberus from Regina, Saskatchewan was able to get in real close and capture this image of a dragonfly resting on a sunflower stalk. If you want the chance to be featured as our photo of the day, send your pic to share@aptn.ca and include any and all details about your picture, and then tune in each day. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Beginning in the east, 28 in rain in Charlottetown and 31 in a mix of sun and cloud in Halifax. 14 degrees in Nain and 18 in rain in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 28 in rain in Quebec City and 23 in rain in Val-d'Or. A mix of sun and cloud and 32 in Toronto and 28 in North Bay. 17 in sunshine in Big Trout Lake and 23 in Wawa. Sunshine and 21 in Churchill and 18 in sun in Norway House. A mix of sun and cloud and 16 in Winnipeg and 18 in Dauphin. A mix of sun and cloud and 23 in Swift Current and 22 in sun in North Battleford. Sun and 23 in Stony Rapids and 21 in sun in Buffalo Narrows. In the west, sunshine and 24 in Fort McMurray and 24 in High Level. Sunshine and 24 in Edmonton and 25 in Medicine Hat. 19 and rain in Vancouver and 15 in rain in Quesnel. 15 in rain in Thieves Lake and rain and 16 in Smithers. More rain and 16 in Dawson and 18 in Whitehorse. 24 in sunshine in Fort Simpson and 22 in Norman Wells. 18 in Fort McPherson and 19 in Colville Lake. A mix of sun and cloud and 23 in Baker Lake and 9 degrees in Cambridge Bay. 0 degrees in Resolute and 3 degrees in Arctic Bay. Indigenous tattoo artists from across Canada were in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory recently. It was a chance for them to unite and empower each other and show off a little bit of their craft. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
It doesn't look like much is happening from a distance, but underneath this canopy, there's a whole lot of inking going on. That's why Emily Kehoe made the 6-hour trek to Tyendinaga from Sudbury. This is her first hand-poked tattoo.
I think it's a really good cause. I think that it's bringing awareness to traditions, and I really am into that.
Kehoe is getting inked by Odinamod Turningwind, a self-taught artist. It's his first gathering. He came to support and learn from other traditional Indigenous tattoo artists. He says it's a process of reconciliation.
It's part of a holistic worldview, I think, in different cultures across nations, which has been heavily suppressed by our colonizers, which the stigma and the taboo is coming from also. And I feel the sense of empowerment coming off the clients that we have. I'm pretty confident to say that for all the tattooists here at the gathering also is that people really are proud to wear their imagery, their spiritual connection, like on their body, as some of our ancestors have done before. And yeah, I almost see it as a spiritual armor, whether it's for coming of age or signifying certain walks of life or achievements. So it's important.
Turning Wind is one of over 20 tattoo practitioners participating in the 4-day event. With so many professionals in one place, Leah Grossbeck jumped at the opportunity.
My name is Ziguan Quay, and what it translates to is the woman under the water, directing like the current, directing the water, telling the water where to go, basically. So the symbols I chose are like the pictographs, and it's water and the woman.
For tattooists like Mel Lefebvre, it's a chance to learn more about the skin stitch from her mentor, Dion Kazis.
You could essentially get a full line, but usually I leave a dash in between because a lot of people don't know about skin stitching or the revival of the technique. And so when I first started the work, I decided I would leave a dash in between so that when people look at it, they go, oh, what's that? Because they'll know it's different. And then that gives an opportunity to educate about the revival and what the meaning of the revival of our tattooing practices is.
Organizer Seth Lafort is pleased with the turnout.
Reclaiming our tattoo culture is a part of that process of rehabilitating from the residential school experience and the Indian day school and the Catholicism and the Anglicanism, all that. And so I really believe that. And that's why I embrace this so much. And so it's part of the reason why this gathering got called, because people were calling me saying, we need to do something, People need something, they're hurting. And I could see that. I could see people were hurting, especially with all the schools that have been found and all the land issues that's been coming up.
Lafort says it's the third gathering of its kind to be held on Turtle Island, and he's hoping to see more. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Tyendinaga, Mohawk Territory.
It's great to see traditional techniques being used, and those tattoos look amazing. All right, that's going to do it for this Wednesday edition of APTN National News. For news anytime, visit our website at aptnnews.ca. I'm Daryl Stranger. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.